Cognitive approach. The third type of approach that is used in bilingual education programs is the cognitive approach. Now, the cognitive approach focuses on the mental processes of the learners. They believe that learning is also about might also be about social construction of knowledge, but their focus is on the mental processes or the cognitive structures that are at work when the learners construct meaning through multiple language use. So they focus on learner agency. How do they process information? How do they use the information that they know? How do they transfer a certain kind of knowledge base from one language to the learning of the other language? And how do they use multiple strategies to engage with text, for instance? So their focus is on teaching them metacognitive skills. That is, teaching them to think about their own strategies, to teach them strategies that can make their academic work easier. So when you're using a cognitive approach, you're focusing on learner strategies. You might teach them how to skim a content, to make sense of it. You might teach them how to scan for specific information when they are looking at a text. They talk about selective listening, how to pick up information that might be relevant, and they also sort of allow the learners to engage with text through note-taking, talking about the sense that they make out of it. So it's all about strategies, thinking about their own learning styles and whether their own learning strategies are being helpful in achieving their own learning goals or not. Asking for clarifications, all this is coming from the cognitive approach. So the main focus of the cognitive approach is on developing metacognitive skills, that is, learning about the learning itself, and on learner autonomy, enabling the learners to take control of their learning processes by understanding those metacognitive skills, by understanding those learning processes that are at work. So what it tries to do actually is that it tries to support three forms of knowledge. Number one is declarative knowledge, what they know. That declarative knowledge is whatever the store of the knowledge itself, the content is itself. The procedural knowledge, that is, how have they learned, what are the strategies that they have used to learn what they have learned, and is the outcome of their learning is what they aimed at, or did it not help them? So the procedural knowledge, how to arrive at that kind of learning outcomes that were the goal of the program. And the third one is conditional knowledge, when and where to apply the knowledge that they have. So they try to support three different knowledge structures of the learners, and if we want to compare it with communicative approach, then the thing that unites both of them is that both of them are actually focused on constructive assumptions about language learning. So what does this mean? It means that both of them believe that language is learned through construction of meaning. That is, the learners use their autonomy, their agency to make sense of the information that comes to them. And it is not just repetition of structures. It is not just about copying the patterns or structures of a knowledge of a language that leads to the knowledge of a language. It's a more creative process. However, the difference between the two is that in a cognitive approach, the focus is on developing metacognitive skills, and in communicative approach, the focus is on using the language in authentic contexts. Another difference between the two is that in communicative approach, you often try to avoid explicit teaching of the grammar or the structures, or don't talk about the language. And language is learned through communication, while in cognitive approach, you might actually engage in the teaching or the explicit teaching of the language or the strategies that might be useful in the learning of the language and content, of course.